Hey, security peeps, we are back with another edition of Breaking Into Cybersecurity. I am Renee Small, cybersecurity super recruiter, helping awesome, amazing talent get into cybersecurity opportunities and helping leaders find great talent. And I'm here with my very, very, very good buddy, Nnamdi Osuagwu. Nnamdi, introduce yourself to these people.
Hi, Renee. I'm glad to be on Breaking In Cyber. I've been watching it for a while, and good to actually be on it. My name is Nnamdi Osuagwu. I'm the CEO and founder of Strategic Generation. We're a boutique cybersecurity solutions firm specializing in DevSecops.
Cool. So Nnamdi's a really good buddy of mine. I mean, he actually is the one who told me about cyber back in the day and was like, you need to get in there and try to figure out a way in. So
we're going to go over our history before we start. How long has it been now?
No, we're not dating ourselves. We look young. We're not going all the way back.
Okay. I like it. We can do that.
We're not going all the way back there. But we want to kick off today because I thought about some of the things, and Nnamdi and I, we talk all the time. And one of the things that kept coming up was around, he's been seeing the posts and the articles and stuff around the education in cybersecurity, the degrees, how to really kind of make a name for yourself in the industry and break into the industry. And so when we were chatting, one of the things that he does that's been very, very successful is joining industry groups and really becoming an active member inside of the industry groups. So when he was talking about this, it made me think about what some of the things that people who are trying to break into the industry can do. So Nnamdi, if you want to jump in and kind of talk about some of the industry groups that you've joined over the years and how it's made how you've been successful doing so and breaking into different industries by doing it.
So I think before we get into that, right, I think it's really a story that I'd like to talk about. I think it was early in my career, maybe a year or two out of college, right? A year out of college, I had an interview with these guys, and I'm expecting them to ask me real technical questions. Like, I'm undergraduate computer science, so I'm thinking we're going to go into programming. We're going to go into some real deep technical questions. And what they asked me was, all right, so how do you keep up in your industry? And I was like, I went to school. I could do, I could program, I guess. I know networking. They were like, no, like, what do you do to keep up? And I didn't know how to answer it. I was totally a deer in headlights. So needless to say, right, that opportunity did not work out. But they taught me a very important lesson in which you have to keep your pulse on what's going on. So as Renee alluded to, right, professional organizations, I'm a fan of it. But not only that, before we start talking about the professional organizations, let's talk about the why behind it. And the why is literally keeping your fingers on the pulse of what's going on in your industry, in your profession, and constantly staying on it. And it takes passion, because that point's not about work anymore. It's about a deep curiosity to, I want to understand more. I want to learn more. Oh, I'm curious about this. If you feel like, all right, I work and I get off of my job and then, that's it, then, the advice that we're about to share is probably not for you. But if you're like deeply passionate about it, deeply, I want to explore, I want to go in, a lot of the things that we're going to talk about right now extends past normal working hours. I'm talking about weekends and talking about late nights and different things of that nature. So that's the premise. And I think it's really important to start with that premise, because everything else makes sense after that. So, rather than name specific organizations, I want to make sure that resonates with everyone, because if you have this constant curiosity, you're constantly exploring, where can I get more information? Where can I get more information? Or who's doing this? Or what project can I jump on? And then, sometimes industry, professional organizations play a part in it. Sometimes podcasts play a part in it. Yeah.
at one point the audio was going in and out, and I'm wondering if it was, I didn't know if it was me, but it seems like the folks here are saying the audio is going in and out. So I just want to make sure. Can you all hear me fine? The running joke is that everybody's working from home, right? So all of our spouses are on Zoom calls at the same time. So we're like, we make sure. Can you hear me?
Which one was it, Renee or myself?
It was you. That's what they were saying before, that your audio was going in and out. You were talking, but it sounds like it's better now.
Well, that's not cool.
It sounded like it was buffering, but you sound fine now to me. So go ahead. Okay, thumbs up.
Okay. Well, I don't know what I start going on my tangent, so I want to make sure that everyone gets me. Seriously, I'll start.
You were talking about being passionate. No, so the last thing I heard is, being passionate in the industry, taking a step back and really being when they asked you how do you stay current in your industry, you were able to, you lost that opportunity, but then you went back and you thought about what you were what you had done, and you started to do. So you could go in from there. Everybody's saying you're good now, so you're good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, please, if you hear audio issues, definitely just put it on the comments for us, so we know. Definitely appreciate that.
That's what
So I mean, that's really the case. It's really about that level of passion and that level of curiosity, and then from there, you start connecting with folks that share that same level of passion and curiosity. And where do you find these people? Right, you're not going to find them at a bar, right? You have to find them where they could probably link up. So you'll go to a professional organization. I'm more for I came in to security via the development side. So I started in QA, and I went to release management and DevOps, and then I started to see security gaps. So that was my pathway. So most of my organizations are around application security, web security, and just understanding how to secure that process. So those are the organizations I resonate towards. You're gonna find your own, right? Whether you're looking at SOC, inside a threat, just various things. You'll whatever, you'll find one that resonates with you.
Right.
Take a question.
Yeah, so before we jump into the questions, but this is a good one because I definitely want to get into the certifications, because I think I crowned you the certification king like at one point. Because you like literally be having cert. But before that, I just want to say good morning to people who show up all the time. Hey, Danielle. And Yamara is always here. Sue Lim. Hey, Sue. I answered your question, Sue, yesterday. I hope you got to see the first part of yesterday's live. If you have not, go back and check that first 5 or 10 minutes, because we talked about how you can transition your PM experience into security. So Ozzy is here. Good morning from Georgia. Anyone that has LinkedIn user, by the way, I believe that's the case because your profile might be private. So if you wanted to, make your profile public, I think we would get more. It wouldn't come up as just saying LinkedIn user. So Ozzy says, hello, Nnamdi. And then we are down to getting back to certs. So somebody wants to know, how do you study for all your certs? That is a great question for you.
So, wow, yeah. I mean, so here's the deal, right? It's a good question. So I think, once again, let's take it back to what I said about passion, about curiosity. Once you have that premise, it's not necessarily about certs. It's about getting that. Like that's what the need is. And then, once you have that, that's the famous quote, like Nike, you just do it. And that's how you study. Like I think my first cert was a very, very long time ago, a few years out of college. They don't even have it anymore. I think it was a Java Sun. That's before Java transitioned to Oracle. So it was a Java Sun certification. And years, I didn't get a cert for years, like years after that. And then one day I just realized, like, why not? Like I wanted to learn more about project management. So, you can learn something, which is fine, and I don't knock that, as people who are great hands-on, they know things in and out. But what I learned that was good for my professional career was proof that I learned it. So I look at certifications as proof that I learned it. So if you try to test me on the PMBOK right now, I will probably fail miserably. But at one point, I knew it very well, and there's proof on my LinkedIn profile that I have a PMP, right? Same thing. And then it's the curiosity layer, right? It's like, from releasing applications, PMP was more of a waterfall. We're looking at different aspects. How do we get faster? Because from the path that I came in from, I'm always trying to figure out, how do we release faster? How do we release safely? How do we release securely? So all of those things started to play in. So the PMP, and then it was the Scrum Master. Oh, wow. Okay. That's how you can organize projects in an agile approach. I see how that works now when I'm working with development teams. Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, you know what? We're going to cloud now. You know what? Look, what about AWS? That's a cloud leader. I want to understand more about that, because that knowledge resonates with, even though it's different nuances between GCP and Azure, that knowledge seems to resonate. It's like, okay, that's cool. Wow. You know what? I want this security thing. So I had a grad school opportunity at Fordham. It was like, okay, boom, I'm going to enroll in this program. I'm going to dive deeper, because I know that I can bring that back to the project teams and my clients. And then boom, I caught the security bug. It was like, oh wow, this is, I've always
was looking at that. Can you guys hear him? Ozzy is saying your audio cut out again.
Yes, this is
not. I can't hear you clearly. So
I can hear you clearly too, but that's not.
But go ahead, keep going. Please let us know if you're here, if you have audio issue, if we're having audio issues.
Let me see if I put the headphones on, if that makes a difference.
Yeah. In the meantime, I just wanted to add that one of the things that the comment that you made around.
Can you hear me now, Renee?
Yeah, I can hear you. One of the comments that you made around, Ozzy saying that was earlier. It's fine now. Okay, thank you, Ozzy. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. One of the things that you said around continuous learning and learning as a whole, I think some people, one of the things that I always like to bring up, Chris likes to bring this up too, is figure out how you learn best. And I think Chris Cochran and Ron in Hacker Valley Studio, they talk about this, because they learn a ton of different things, and everyone learns a ton of different ways. So to your point, you're by you doing your continuous learning, the structure, the understanding of a certification, the structure of a studying from in that aspect is great. Whereas some people have said, I just like to zoom. I like to go on YouTube, and I like to literally, go through the things and then pause it and then do the thing and then go back and forth. So the continuous learning piece is a piece that I just want to reiterate, that it comes up often, and people ask, like, should we get the cert? Should we get this? And we're all of us collectively are saying the learning aspect is really the part that is the most important. And then, yes, if you want to pay to get the cert or what have you, it's proof that you learned it. The learning piece is the real important piece. So
the learning piece is the key piece, is learning. And then for me, I'm more on the consulting side. So whether you're a consultant or employee, it's the learning and apply it to a real client. Look, I feel this can add value. This is what the industry is doing, right? I posted a video called the 3 reasons to get a cert, right? And one of my reasons was, and I've experienced this at different clients. We're working on big projects, and we're doing it what we think is right? But that's not necessarily what the industry may be doing, because these are time-tested things that are proven. Now, you can break the rules and innovate. That's how innovation happens. But it's really good to understand it, because I've been in situations where we're doing something, but it's not quite what the industry is doing. So we're a little bit out of sync. And then when we took those lessons, we were able to just be more successful. So wherever you get the learning from, whether it's YouTube, I actually like getting books, Kindle books, but then listening to it from an audio perspective, not necessarily audible, but if you have a Kindle, it turns text to speech. So I just listen to it sometimes. So, and actually doing stuff. I remember from a learning perspective, spending weekends breaking into stuff and literally using Kali Linux and the different tools and constantly hacking, because I wanted to learn it at that point and learn the different tools that are out there and experiment with it. So it's a constant process in this field. If you're not, if you cannot do that, or you don't have the mindset for that, it's going to be a very difficult journey for you, and you may become obsolete. So I think longevity happens when you constantly reinvent yourself, constantly learn stuff. And another way to learn, back to professional organizations, right? There may be a project that you may not necessarily be working at work that's so innovative. It's so a top, like right now, a thing that I'm into is on the blockchain technology side, smart contracts. So it's one thing to be into it, but now I'm working in a professional org in the Cloud Security Alliance, in which we're writing standards on it. So now we're diving in deeper. So it's constant, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So Ben, who's always here, hey Ben, says DevOps is a fantastic place to learn about vulnerabilities in rapid succession.
Agree totally. I mean, that's why from my focus and my intro to security, the best place that I saw the most value that I could contribute to my clients in my industry is through DevSecops. So we just added security to the DevOps layer, and really looking at ways we can still deploy at speed, but in a secure and safe. We don't have to sacrifice security for speed, because that seems to be a misconception that a lot of teams go on. They say, well, security slows me down. So, you know, if I do a static analysis and it gives me false positives, it just slows the DevOps process down. But there's different processes and tools we can implement to speed that up. I'm getting way technical. Okay.
No, I mean, what's cool is
Yeah.
that, and I think that people, a lot of the times, and I see this from my side with the people who struggle a lot of the times to break into the industry. And I think Brian Hogue said it best last week, is that it's one of these places where typically you're coming in from, you cut your teeth somewhere else. So in your case, like where you come out of is where a lot leaders love people with your type of background in particular. Because if you came from a computer science background, you used to be a developer, you've grown up, that's where you cut your teeth, and you get into the arena of the DevSecOps space, you fully understand it because you used to code, so you get it. Whereas someone else who may be coming in, they may struggle because you come in with one perspective, the security side, but not fully understanding what the developers are doing. But go ahead, jump in.
No, just like I came in, traditionally trained computer science, coding, did a little bit of that coming out of college, then went into QA, then the release side and working with developers and managing that process from build engineering and stuff. So to your point, I think a problem is, and this is my opinion, it looks from a project team's perspective that security is there to slow them down. And I think, from my perspective, it's more so we are all here to support the business, bottom line. Whether you're security, whether you're QA, whether you're developer, if there is no business, there is no you. That's it. It's not point blank period, right? So understanding that is, what's the best thing for the business? The best thing for the business is to definitely release their applications. The best thing for the business is to release secure and safe applications. So let's marry those two and figure out the best way to achieve that goal. So that's the mindset that I come from.
Yeah, and I hear that often in, from businesses, from the business side too. When you talk to sometimes at the business side, they're like, "Oh, security is like the police. Like they just want to tell you no, like you can't do this, you can't do that, or it's too slow, or that's going to take too long, or whatever." So I think from my experience too, it's similar experiences like, hey, security is not just, the police coming in here. We want to help you release secure applications. So, you don't have issues, not necessarily that it's trying to be a blocker. So Danielle wants to know, is there scholarships for getting certs? I have seen some. I think, and I don't want to mess up this acronym, ICMCP, I believe, the International Consortium of Minorities and Cybersecurity Professionals, I believe. I know they had some scholarships. I think SANS had some scholarships for theirs. I saw something else recently, Danielle. I will do some searching around and reach out to you and DM you afterwards, because I know I have definitely seen some scholarships for people trying to get certain certifications. Nnamdi, have you seen any? Do you know?
No. Wait. AWS Educate.
Okay. Yeah.
AWS. If you go to AWS Educate, and you have a student ID, or from some university, or you can get on there for free, and they give you career tracks and free training.
Okay.
So
But if she
you can get
doesn't
the training.
I don't know if that's the case if she doesn't have the student ID. You can still
Experiment.
check. Yeah.
Yeah, I would check,
Still check it out.
because a lot of people I've seen videos and people that they didn't look like necessarily students, but they went through the career track and got a cloud job. And then, once you get in, everything has to be secure. But that's AWS Educate was good. I don't know if Azure or GCP has some, but I think a lot of these cloud providers are trying to get people to understand it, because then it'll help their product, get more more people with access and things of that nature. So it would behoove them to have training and things like that. So if AWS has it, I'm sure GCP and Azure may have something, even if it's a baseline certification or baseline tools to study. Because sometimes, like the earlier point, you may not get the cert, but a cheat code is study it, learn it, and blog about it. Start talking about it. Start connecting with people at those firms and asking questions, and put like, oh, this is what I learned. What do you think? And that's just more of the using social media to network. And in that case, if you're the one always talking about this technology and posting what you're learning, even without the cert, if I have questions, I'm going to come to you and say, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Because you have positioned yourself online as an authority.
So Suleiman says, what are your thoughts on pivoting inside of the InfoSec field? I want to transition from a blue team to DFIR and cloud. So I'll jump in and answer that one.
Yeah,
I think that it is, it makes perfect sense. I mean, most people don't stay in I won't say most. A lot of people like to move around. You want to learn new things. You want to get involved in new things. I said this yesterday. Some people tend to look externally when they're looking at opportunities versus looking at what's right there, like right in their own backyard. And if you're trying to pivot right now, you're in the blue team and you want to get over to incident response, you want to get to DFIR and cloud, I would just say reach out to take on an additional project from them. Volunteer your services volunteer to get involved as much as you can in these projects. That's how almost everybody that came into security older than 10 years ago or so came in from some other space, some other pivot. Like there was no cybersecurity degree, there was no program, there wasn't something with so much structure. I think Brian last week was saying that the industry is about 20 or so years old. It's not a really old industry. So most people, when I did a bunch of interviews that are going to start to come out with leaders in security, and it's like, hey, how did you start? And almost everybody started somewhere else. I was a sysadmin, I was a developer, I was this, I was that, I was something else. So pivoting within, I think, is fantastic. So that's that one came from Suleiman. Okay, so there's other questions here. Buddy says, what kinds of KPIs or metrics do you use to determine the project at hand, and if it measures up to industry standards? What types of responses do you get from executive stakeholders?
It's a good question. Off the top of my head, can't think. I mean, one KPI that's security related, and also you can look at is mean time to remediation. In terms of, so I don't know when I go off a tangent, but you have situations in which if you look at a lot of applications in the Play Store, either on Apple or Google side, they have vulnerabilities, right? So when are you going to remediate that? Like, you have situations that when you could be leveraging some open source components, you could be leveraging within, and you find this vulnerability. How long to remediate? What's the turnaround time for that? How long are you exposed? Another good thing is to constant. Now a big thing is the reports. I know Verizon has a report. Different companies publish different reports, and in that you'll get a ton of stats from an industry perspective that you can relate back to your. It's really understanding the pain point, and it depends on the client. Some of them look at different things. So it's like, all right, you could take some information from how the industry does it from one of these reports, and then you can circle it back to your particular client or employer and see, and then get the stats internally and then compare the two. Say, this is where the industry, this is where we're at. There's a gap. How do we become better? That's my advice to it.
Okay, cool. Gina, this comment. So Gina says, I see our guest is a career coach. Is there a certain career concept we would do well to get familiar with in the industry that you've seen? So Gina, Christophe Foulon is the one who's the career coach. I put in the comments that he would also potentially come on. So if he's available, he will jump in and he'll be able to answer your question. But Nnamdi's not a career coach.
Real confused there. I was like, career coach, wow. They call a lot of things, not that.
Yeah. So Danielle, somebody says, I think this is Zalia is telling Danielle that SANS has a women's immersion program. The training and certification are free if you make it into the program. So Azure is also giving vouchers, and this is from Suleiman, for AZ900 if you watch an 8-hour webinar. And somebody else said Azure training is free too.
Can I add something in? Look, we live in a very, very connected world. If you have the aptitude and the passion to get a cert that could help a company out, like, connect with people. If the only thing stopping you is resources, meaning something financial, connect with people. If you connect, if you look up and do research on Azure and look up, maybe the people in charge of the certification program, or some company execs there, hit them up and say, listen, I love your product. I'm amazed by it. I've been studying it. This is the value I can add. The only thing stopping me is getting money for a certification, but I'm ready to take it. I can add tremendous value. I'm talking about you. I'm doing this, all these things. Can you give me a voucher? You'll be surprised. I have never done that. I've done other things, connecting with people of things that I wanted, and just posted, and I was surprised with a response. So I think you shouldn't let money stop you. There are people willing to help. You have to make it so what's in it for them. And if you can answer that question, I think you can get some things done.
I think I want to add on that Chris would say this over and over because he has so many, he has grown so much in this industry just by being that resource, just by saying, I'm digging into this thing. So I think one of the reasons why we started Breaking Into Cybersecurity is I think that more, and I say this with air quotes, entry level or early career junior folks that are new to the industry, and that can mean anybody, so career changers or whatever, anybody that's new to the industry may feel like, oh, I cannot bring in, I can't speak as an expert. And you're an expert in and you might not be an expert in a particular industry or topic or whatever, but what you do have is you have a voice and you have a perspective. And by even saying and blogging and talking about, and somebody else was on here that talked about this, her mentor told her to do what I'm teaching you and then blog about it. Everything I'm teaching you, blog about it. And so that's what she started to do. And by blogging about this stuff and sharing, then more and more people were able to say, she was able to put it out there, ask questions. You all already know how much this community wants to help. Like, everybody here, you put a question out, you blog about something, people are going to be all over you. Some of the people who reach out to the folks who have been really successful in this, they put the information out there, and then people say, oh, I love your passion. Like, we talked about this yesterday, and we talk about it all the time in terms of the job descriptions, trying to break in, all that stuff. They're looking for perfection when they put up some of these crazy job descriptions. They're never going to get it. If 40%, 50% of what's written on there, you can, go for it and apply for that type of job. But it goes back to kind of sharing, hey, this is what I'm learning. This is what I've been doing. I've seen some people do 100 days. They do like these little challenges, 30-day challenge or something around, building their home lab, or different development projects, or whatever it is. And this is how people are getting known in the industry, by like continuously saying, this is what I learned, and this is what the end result is from what I learned. So definitely go out there and do that, and be a sponge. Like, you want to show people that you're passionate and that you want to learn and everything else. Passion is key. So Gina wanted you to answer the question anyway. So take away the career coach part. She said, is there a certain career concept we would do well to get familiar with in the industry that you've seen?
So, all right, I'll answer that. So here's how I'm going to answer that. Now, if I was giving my 22-year-old self advice, that I think could have helped my career excel a lot further at the time. The technology, you have to know. That's just, it is what it is. You're going to have to constantly study on that. I would also look at the business or an industry, right? So let's say right now we're in 2020. I would say, okay, what industry right now is popping? Like, what's going on? Obviously not cruise lines, right? So you want to think about it like, okay, maybe it's fintech, right? Maybe it's telecom. Telecoms are doing well right now with Zoom, Twilio, like their stock prices are shooting through the roof. All right, cool. I want to understand everything there is to know about telecom, right? I want to understand it. Technology, like I said, that's a given. That cannot go away. You're a technologist. Boom. So you're getting your skill sets there. But now you start understanding more about telecom. Now you start relating the two, right? So now, I mean, think about the power. You're talking, and we could get into interviews, because I look at interviews a little bit different. I don't look at interviews that you should be sitting there getting asked 100 questions and answering each one. That's crazy to me. I'm more from the sell side. Like, even though I'm a consultant out of my business, you are your own business. And I think Dr. Dan alludes to that as well. So it should be more of a conversation. It should be more of a, let's figure some stuff out. What problem, the power in saying, I know this industry. Here's the trends I'm seeing in this industry. This is what's going on. Here's what your competitors are doing. I think you can relate that. How does that relate back to this technology problem? A conversation like that will differentiate you so much from everyone else, because everyone's coming to answer questions about some technology. That's a given. You're now talking about, this is where the industry's going. This is what's happening here. Your competitors, this is what they're doing. How are you relating to that? So now, because like the question comes up, right? Do you have any questions for us? Oh, do I? Yeah, I do. This is what's happening. They're like, oh, wow. I looked at your corporate mission. I looked at what you're doing. How, with this role, how does that tie into this? So when you talk like that, and you can't, obviously, it's really difficult to learn technology, also learn about 20 different industries, right? So I would be real strategic. I would pick one. Like, for instance, for my company right now, we're focused on fintech. That's not saying in 2 years we're going to switch to health tech, but right now I'm talking fintech, and I want to know more about it. I mean, I've been working in it for quite a long time, so that's a difference. But if I was never working in it, I have experience in it, I would research it. I would keep understanding more and more and more and more. And when you're having these conversations, you don't have to wait to an interview. You hit up someone that's a VP, a director there. Hey, this is what I see is going on in your company. This is what the trends are saying. What are your thoughts around that? They're like, oh, snap, really? So that's my
And
answer.
sometimes, no, that's such a valid point, because sometimes you bring in information that they don't even have the answer to, depending on the level of the interviewer. So you're telling them stuff that they might not even really realize about their industry. There's many times that's happened where they're like, "What? Wow." Like, I didn't. They might not say it out loud. I didn't know that, but you can see in their face, like, I didn't really know
and that's the bonsai moment. That's the oh yes, like, whoa, wow, who is this person? That's the moment. And some people, it may resonate, and some people may not. But if you're passionate and it doesn't resonate with that person, maybe that's not the right fit. But you keep doing it more and more. And like I said, don't wait till the interview. Hit up someone on LinkedIn that's a position, that an industry that I'm talking to different industry leaders. This is their perspective. This is what I read. What's yours?
Yeah.
So like, who is this person? And write about it, talk about it. So by the way, in preparation to this this podcast, I took the liberty of writing an article on LinkedIn called Breaking Into Cybersecurity, right? Quote, quote. And I put some tips, more details in terms of what I discussed. And I did a roll call for my network to add additional tips. So if you search on LinkedIn, hashtag strategic generation with hashtag breaking into cybersecurity, or my article should pop up, breaking in. And it's additional tips that we discussed with additional details that maybe we couldn't get into, with some links. And I'll be adding to that as I think of more. So you can search for it. So you want to put that in the comments or something? I don't know. Oh, yeah. So.
I'll put it up in a second.
Cool.
Gina says that she wants to she's starting a group for people who are going after the Security Plus, because she's taught it more than 10 times. So
that's
Gina,
awesome.
That is amazing.
Are you charging people?
No, I think
we're entrepreneurs here. Are you charging people for that group access? Sounds like a good business.
Gina taught it 10 times. So this is pretty cool, Gina, for you to jump on here and get people through the Security Plus. That would be, that's a really, really, really awesome thing to do for the folks that are here that are looking to get in. Dominique is saying, yes, people, I think we all going to be in there. We'll all be in there learning. So this is good stuff. So let me put up, Nnamdi, you said hashtag strategic generation and hashtag.
Your article should come up. I don't know if you want to. I tagged you in the article, Renee, so you should have the link to it.
So it's on my feed.
You can put it in the comments afterwards.
Yeah, it's in my feed. It's in my feed, folks, the share that I did earlier about this. So we're at almost 40 minutes. Unless anybody else has any additional questions, it's really about, how do you stay current? I think the takeaway from this is, like, how do you stay current in your industry overall? Because, thinking about all of the different things that we've talked about today, it's really been around staying current, staying on top of what's happening. As we all know, in technology, like Nnamdi said earlier, you will be obsolete if you're not. Continuous learning is just the name of the game, like, however you do it. So it's, how do you stay on top? How do you stay there? And any final words, Nnamdi, before we go?
Yeah, let me add something. So for hobbies, right? I like martial arts. I like MMA. I like BJJ and jiu-jitsu and things like that nature. So I've been around a lot of fighters and athletes, and I went to did some tournaments this year myself, and the work ethic is amazing. The training, the amount of training needed. Being around some amateur and professional fighters, and how much they train and get ready for a fight camp, and constantly, it's like you constantly have to go to the weight room, but then you have to work on your skills, and you have to spar. It's intense. And listening to athletes like the late great Kobe Bryant, in terms of his training regimen, waking up 4 a.m, going to practice, coming back again 12 o'clock. He's going to practice like 3-4 times a day when everyone else is not. And it's just separating himself from his competition. And I think, you know, although I'm talking about athletics, I've taken that and tried to apply it to my profession. So Renee would say I'm the certification king. I know people with way more certs than me, but at one point it was like, you know, I'm just going to keep getting more certs. Now it's like, you know, I just want to keep understanding the industries that I'm in. I want to get more familiar to honor the commitment we have of you know, making sure everyone wins, the business, the project team, and also the end user with securing their apps. So it's constantly, and it's kind of neurotic, but you constantly are doing it because this is what you signed up for, and that's how you win. Whether you're entry, mid, senior, doesn't make a difference. It's that constant level of going after it. So that's what I want to leave with.
Okay, awesome. So, folks, thank you so much for your comments. And Nnamdi, thank you so much for being my guest today and my co-host. There's someone here that says greetings from a Nigeria sister.
Oh,
Sheriff.
what's up? I love that. I love that.
Thank you all for coming on, for joining us. Gina King, thank you so much for doing the Security Plus group sessions. Let us know. We should bring Gina on here. We could talk about this since she just started this thing up. And then, awesome. Folks, we will see you on the next episode of Breaking Into Cybersecurity. I believe it is on, maybe Thursday. We may have a surprise on Thursday with department. Well, I won't say.
One loves surprises.
Yeah. I can't say that we're having them on yet until I get the official word, but Thursday might be a good one. Anywho, thanks everybody. Thanks, Nnamdi.
Thank you, Renee. Take care.